My name is Amy Peradotta, and I am the chapter chair for the Portland chapter of Women Grow. And this is Sara Holmes. She is our membership chair for the Portland chapter. We're actually very, very excited about our program this evening, and we have a lot of people to thank for that as well. First of all, we would like to thank our event sponsor this evening, Brand and Branch. If you could stand up, Amanda, Conley, and Shabnam, where are you? Thank you! They're from the Bay Area, and they actually founded their Women Grow chapter down there as well. They know how much hard work and dedication it takes to make things like this happen, so their support is just phenomenal, and we're really excited to have them. They're actually in town for Weed Week right now, so thank you again. And then we'd also like to thank our members and our sponsors as well. Every dollar that any organization or person gives to us goes to make sure that things like this can happen. We're just hosting space for you all to be able to connect and share your energy and your passion and really move this industry forward. And so thank you all, because we couldn't do it without you. I'd also like to take a moment to thank all of our volunteers. If you have volunteered currently or in the past, I'd like you to raise your hand, please. These folks are awesome. They help us at registration, they help us set up, they help us tear down, they help us in any way that we need them to. This is all a volunteer-run organization, and we couldn't do it without their help as well. So thank you guys so much. We appreciate you. So I'm just going to take one moment to say how excited I am for this particular panel discussion on increasing minority access to the cannabis industry. First and foremost, this is near and dear to my heart because the war on drugs is fucked. And there's no other way to put it, and it's just all there is to it. Our criminal justice system needs to be reformed, our drug policies need to be reformed, and first and foremost, you know, it's great that we are looking at cannabis businesses being legal. That's great, but what about the people that are still in prison? What about the people that are still serving time for the same things that people are doing legally now? Those are all things that we need to look at, and I think that this is an incredibly important discussion that we need to have. And so I'm just very excited to have all of you here. So thank you for being here and taking part in this, and thank you to all of our panelists for being here this evening as well. And with that, we just have a few announcements, and I'm going to hand it over to Sara, and then we're going to get started in our program. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing? Everybody got food? Everybody got a drink? Everybody settled in? Everybody take out their pen and paper. I've got announcements coming up. All right. Oh. And everybody make sure there's no lipstick on your teeth and the fly is up, because we got Mary taking some wonderful pictures that always come out beautiful. Yeah. So we got some events coming up. Weed Week is going on this whole week. Let's take advantage of that, because we just found out that tickets are free. Free is for us, right? Yeah. And on Sunday we have the Cannabis Classic Cup, and that's from 12 to 8 if you want to go to that. That's all being held at Left Bank Annex. What else do we got going on? Our Oregon's first weed beer. Weed beer. CBD infused. They're going to have a free tasting going on tomorrow at 5 o'clock. That's right after work. You guys can make it, right? And that's going to be held at East Burn. So that is with Bill and his Half-Baked Lab. Yes. And Coalition Brewing have come together to make the first weed beer. The next one, and this is why you need your pen and paper, we've got Prism House going on. If you haven't been to Prism House, you need to go. It's a wonderful house. It's a wonderful community to be involved with. This Sunday, she's got her DIY open house. If you need some decorations for your house or apartment to get into the Christmas feeling, she's got wonderful ornaments to make. Friday, December 16th, we've got Puff Pass Paint, which is an absolute blast, whether you're talented or not. I am not, and it's a blast. It's a wonderful time. Her new class, Puff Pass Pottery. It was a great time. You get to paint your own little bowls or chillums. That's on the 17th. Tuesday, December 20th is the Oregon Cannabis Industry Meetup. A wonderful organization. And for the 2 Puff Pass Pottery classes, you can enter in the discount code Women Grow for 20% off. So that's a great little... Stand up, Sam. Yes, Sam. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mama Sam. And then what we have next up is our Cannabis Coalition Collaboration Conference, CCC 3.0. Woohoo! February 15th and 16th at the Portland Expo Center. You can go to, at the bottom here, ccc-com.com for more information. I would love to introduce Miss Mary Lou to come on up and talk about her organization. Bring it up. Fire it up for Miss Mary Lou. And it's not going to be 5 minutes, trust me. I know. I'm Italian. I'm sorry. Can you hear me? Okay, so who saw on Facebook the marijuana Christmas tree? I want one. That was awesome. So Cannabis Collaborative Conference, oh my gosh, 3.0, can you believe it? Our first one, July of 2014, right after it became legal. Everybody thought, who are you and what are you doing? And so our third conference is about becoming solid and strong, okay? Who in here is just like, oh my God, how and why did I get involved in this industry? Anybody making money? I know. Okay, so we are trying to solve these issues. Our third conference will be the 15th and 16th at the Expo. Last year we had 2,700 attendees. We're looking for 3,200. Super exciting based on your needs of everybody in here. We are doing investor speed dating on Valentine's Day, okay? So on our website, we have a pitch portal. And I've asked, people are coming in like crazy, putting in what their business is, what they need, how much they need, and we have 40, oops, it's okay, it's all good. Feels like home, I have 4 kids, okay. But we have 40 investors that will see your pitches, okay? If the banks can't figure it out, we will, right? Did everybody hear about our live plants at the Oregon State Fair? Okay? Somebody said, we can't figure this out, the banking or the testing. I go, if we can get plants at the state fair, we can figure it out. Okay, so Fair was worried about it, the whole 4-H thing. Quick synopsis, they had a 20% increase in attendance. We're invited back and 3 other states have asked us to do one. And they may allow flower. Okay, so pretty excited. On the table are the commemorative stickers. We handed these out in Vegas where there were 10,000 people. Over 60% of the people we talked to heard about it and heard about Oregon. Okay? Seriously, we are the leaders, okay? So the conference is the 15th and the 16th. We started selling last month. We are 50% sold out. We added 10 by 5 booths at $8.95 because we know everybody's struggling. We have sign-up forms in the back that we will take a deposit so that you can get your best space and you can make payment plans, okay? I have to work with people. We have sponsorships, super exciting. I think this is seriously the most exciting thing. Again, I like a challenge. I don't sleep at night, but I like a challenge. So I went to OLCC and I said,
just like they did the application process, and I offered to videotape it, and it saved them 2,000 phone calls. Then we did the seed to sale in the second conference. I went to them this year, and I said, let's invite in all the states, all the key players, okay? We have over 100 on our list of all the people making the rules, the laws. We are gonna have an all-state forum where we're gonna put Oregon, Colorado, and Washington on a panel and tell them these are the things to do and these are the things not to do. Okay, my ulterior motive is we get to the new markets a year sooner than anybody else, okay? Because big business is coming, and my goal is to help everybody to become solid and strong before that happens. I know I can't help everybody, but we have to work together and be prepared. So this conference is about mergers, partnerships, acquisitions, and funding, and figuring out the banking solution, okay? So we may not do it tomorrow, but the things we're doing is helping to regulate and normalize this industry. I got a call from my coordinator for speaker coordinator, Brown University, OHSU, and Harvard are coming in to share their studies in Oregon. In Oregon. So, in California, I don't want to say that we're that good. We say the Pacific Northwest, okay? But really, it's between us, right? Okay, so, God, I've done it without even looking at my notes. Did everyone see the press release that went out last night? Okay, I am tired. Is anybody in government here? No? Okay, excellent. I am tired of people doing things based on what they think is right. They are killing this industry. The 3 years that we've spent to build this and to be profitable and successful, they are killing it. The press release, Bo Whitney wrote a report that basically said that what they've done with the testing is going to cost Oregon about $10 million, okay? They said that 185 million in rec people that did what they were supposed to do are now being pushed back into the black market. So because of the publicity from our Oregon Growers Fair, okay, Huffington Post, Associated Press, they picked up our press release. This is pretty important. Picked up our press release, and if you Google it when you go home tonight, it has gone international. Everything that Oregon has done is being screwed. You said the F word, so I can say screwed. Okay, so here's the deal. Bottom line is, if the legislature and governor and all these people do not listen to us, we're fighting it in the public court. Okay, the public court. So the exciting thing is that we may not be able to fix it all, but with our investors, we will help people bridge the gap. Okay, if anybody indoor grower out here, I got a guy that needs a ton of flower and a ton of strains. That's another part of our company, Cannabis Connects, that we had sent it out to growers. We said, what do you have? It was just an experiment. We got 20 growers respond. Now I'm matching them up with buyers, and now there's bidding wars. How cool is that? Seriously, those are solutions, right? So, okay, come back and talk to us. We would love to have you part of the show. I think I got it all. Love Women's Grow. You know, Women's Grow supported me when I was, hey, I got this idea. And they're like, oh, we really like it. How many organizations would do that? So us sticking together and being part of an organization like this, instead of one voice, we're many. Chabella.
Thanks, Mary Lou. You're awesome. Just another announcement. That's okay. Go to I would like to introduce a really exciting thing right now. Splim is actually an online newsletter. It's the first of its kind in the world. It is a community resource for families whose lives have been enhanced by cannabis. It's for parenting and pot. And this is the first of its kind. So we're really excited because our community members, Jen Lauder and Chad Dean, if you could stand up real quick. They are the brains behind this, and if you could go ahead, if you want to sign up for their newsletter, they have really exciting content, and you can get that in your inbox as often as they send it. So by all means, just go to www.splim.com and you can sign up there. Absolutely. And now I'm going to turn it over here in just a second to one of our sustaining sponsors, Viridian Staffing. Viridian Staffing has been with Women Grow since we started in May of 2015, and their support has helped us, be here right now. I would like to introduce David Muret. He is the COO and co-founder of Viridian Staffing. He's just an all-around awesome person, but I just want to brag on him for just a second. He's also the co-founder of Washington's largest cannabis industry association, and he is a dear friend as well. So he's going to tell you a little bit about Viridian Staffing, and I'll turn it over to him. Thank you.
Whoa. Well, thank you, everyone. Setting my timer here so I don't go over. So yeah, we're pulling up our PowerPoint here. Excellent. So, unfortunately, you're getting the lesser half of the Viridian team. I'm here representing the others. I was the co-founder, again, chief operating officer. But yes, this, for those who have met her, Kara Bradford is really the reason we exist. She's our chief talent officer. She has been a Fortune 100 level recruiter for 15 years and also holds an MBA with an emphasis in human resources. And so we are a recruiting organization, we're a staffing firm. We were established in 2013 in Seattle. We now serve clients coast to coast, including some Canadian firms. Again, our offerings are recruiting, headhunting, temporary staffing, human resources consulting. We also help connect clients with best-in-class payroll solutions and benefits providers. The recruiting team, aside from Kara Bradford, includes, well, everybody else on the recruiting team has at least 10 years continuous experience and at least some of that touching the Fortune 500 or higher. So all these people know how to vet and they know how to source. Anyway, you guys know what a recruiting firm is. What I'd really like to talk about tonight, if we could go to the next slide, every time I've come to these events, we've always had a lot of people who are new to the industry or trying to find their niche. Just by a show of hands, how many of you are currently working in some facet of the cannabis industry? Excellent. How many are interested in getting into the industry but are not in yet? Okay, probably about a third of you. All right. So I just want to give a brief overview of what the cannabis industry looks like and the types of opportunities we see, as well as what's going on in Oregon. The cannabis industry breaks down between the medical marijuana segment, the recreational or adult use segment, the industrial hemp segment, and of course all sorts of subcategories include producers, processors, labs, distributors, retailers, and a host of ancillaries like our own. For those of you who are aware, there was a recent jobs report that was put out in the last year by friends of ours at New Economy Consulting. They did a pretty exhaustive survey of dispensaries here in the state of Oregon, and what they found, at least in that sector, is that there'd been about 2,156 jobs created here in Oregon, generating about 46 million in total wages, and projected it to grow to about 196 million by 2017, assuming, of course, this testing regulation doesn't put too many people out of business, right? And then interestingly, at that time, this has probably changed somewhat, but about 28% of those employees were receiving benefits, breaking down to about 45% of full-time people and 31% of full-time bud tenders. In terms of where we're standing here in Oregon relative to other legalized markets, I went to a number of the million job boards out there, which we don't tend to really use, but they're interesting reference points for numbers at least. You can see on the left-hand side here, in fact I'm going to run over so I can see it better. So in Washington State, just in terms of relative terms of how much opportunities are being created, one had 108 positions posted in Washington State, 383 in Colorado, more developed obviously than Washington currently, and a mere 38 here in Oregon. Another board, we had 6 positions posted in Oregon, 97 in Colorado, and 53 in Washington, just to get a feel of where we are in relative terms. I fully expect Washington State to catch up to and probably ultimately exceed Colorado's market, and then Oregon too could easily keep pace with Washington State. I'm pretty much at the end of my time. 5 minutes goes fast. Does anybody have any really burning questions? I'll probably get to take 1 or 2. If not, I'll catch you at the back of the room. All right, you guys are experts. I will hand it over. Thank you very much for your time.
And now we will have Amanda and Shabnam come up and give us a little background on Brand and Branch. They will tell you a bit about that. Maybe they'll tell us a little bit about what they've done with Women Grow as well. So come on up, ladies.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. We're so excited to be here. Shabnam and I actually founded the Bay Area chapter of Women Grow about 2 years ago. We started, thanks. It's really cool. We had 10 people in a room. 5 of them were just our friends that we got to fill the room, and now they have huge meetings like this, and it's amazing. And we have been so excited when we watched your chapter start, and we were dying to come up here, and we couldn't because we were running our chapter. And finally, we passed the reins to some wonderful women, and now, at long last, we're here. So thank you so much for having us. We're really excited about it. We decided we're going to take a sort of an improv approach to this. So rather than kind of go through and tell you about ourselves, we're going to interview each other, but we haven't told each other what the questions are. So we'll see how this goes. Do you want to start?
Okay, well, I'm going to start kind of nerdy. Oh, wait, I don't have our postcard. Wow.
We have postcards on the table.
Here we go.
Places.
Okay, here we go.
So if you follow along, there's a postcard on
Thank you. All right, well, I'm going to start nerdy and then things will get racy later. My first question, for those of you who might have seen it, is for Amanda about this lovely postcard. Amanda designed this and made it, and I wanted Amanda to talk to us about the inspiration for making this postcard flyer, because I think it's some terrific design work. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, my inspiration was green and black are our colors. Not really the best choice for green for a cannabis company, but that's what we ended up with, as many folks have. Let's see, I was trying to, with the shape in the corner, this trademark success in the cannabis industry in 4 simple steps, and I try to repeat the shape on the back, what makes a trademark strong. I was thinking a little bit about sacred geometry, but also trying to play that down, not overdo it. And then I was really going for, our logo is down here in the left-hand corner, Brand and Branch, these 2 B's. So I was trying to kind of carry that branch theme a little bit throughout with some of the lines. Great question. Yeah. What's your favorite thing about working with cannabis clients?
What's not my favorite thing about working with cannabis clients? let's see. There's so many things I really like about working with cannabis clients. My favorite thing. I think my favorite is the sense of community, actually, with cannabis clients. And part of it is like, literally, they're in my community. I live in San Francisco, and sometimes, so I moved to San Francisco in the early 90s for college. And you know, we bought marijuana illegally then and smoked it. And so now sometimes I meet these longtime growers, and I sit there and the whole time I'm like, I'm pretty sure I was buying weed off you when I was like 19, but now I can't really say anything because I'm your lawyer and I have to act really professional during this conversation. But yeah, so it's that sense of community that, yeah, I think I knew you. And just, it's like this old-timey, everybody sort of gets to know each other. It's great. It's a real tight-knit community there because our medical cannabis industry has been around for so long. It's like you make friends with your clients and colleagues, and you see them at Women Grow, you see them at a restaurant, you see them around town. That's my favorite thing. Okay, next for you. Oh no, hold on. Hold, please. Technology. Okay, so do you think that, okay, so Amanda and I worked together before we started this law firm together. So do you think that your job now manifests what you dreamt of doing when you entered law school?
Oh, I was gonna say yes if you were like what you dreamt of doing 3 years ago. Hands down, yes, I'm so happy. When I entered law school, I was gonna be a professor. So if you were like, no, you're gonna be a weed lawyer, like, what? No, that doesn't sound right. But you know, yes, yeah, in the beginning of law school, I wanted to be a professor. That's why I went to law school. And then I went to law school and I met all these law professors, and I was like, you know what, actually, I don't know if I want to do this. And I decided to be a lawyer, and I wanted to do techie, cool, cutting-edge, emerging issues. So in that sense, yeah, it's completely fitting. And I get to dabble in graphic design. Yes, yes.
Did you have a sense that there was such a thing as a weed lawyer?
No, I would have assumed it was criminal defense. And I mean, I knew I wanted to be a trademark lawyer, and so I would not have thought, how can I, yeah, weed lawyer, that's our official title. Exactly, I could not have imagined. All right, I have one. Have you ever been left by a cat?
As a matter of fact, I have. I had this kitty cat that I adopted, you know, back in the day, and she and I lived together for 10 years, and then we moved. Well, I adopted another cat along the way, and her and the other cat did not get along at all, and then all three of us moved from the place we lived in for 10 years to a new place, and when we moved into the new place, she left me for the neighbor. And at first sight, she just started hanging around the neighbor's house, who had 2 other cats, by the way, that didn't get along with her, so I couldn't quite figure out what the deal was. So she slowly moved away, and then the neighbor thought that she was a homeless cat and took her and gave her away. And then I was like, where's my cat? You gotta bring my cat back. That cat belongs to me. So she brings the cat back. And the day she brought the cat back, she called me and she was like, hey, I've got your cat. Do you want to come get her? And I was like, no, just let her out in the yard. She'll find her way home. So the cat did not find her way home. And she ended up, like, she just moved out. She just moved into the neighbor's house, and eventually I lost custody of the cat. But I ended up making friends with this woman, and that became a really long and fruitful, lovely relationship. The cat has since gone, and she was a lovely, wonderful cat, except for the part where she left me. Okay. All right. What is your least favorite part of cannabis IP work?
Post-election, I'd say it's the uncertainty about the future and our clients' rights and the ability to advise them. I mean, our job is to help our clients do everything they can, everything we can help them do to protect their IP. And it's constantly changing. The trademark office is constantly changing its position on this, and we're right on the edge of it, so we know what's going on, but that small change could change everything, and so I think that that's the hardest thing is not having that sense of security, and obviously that's something I'm sure everyone in this room can identify with in this industry. But yeah, feeling like I'm going to do everything in my power to set you up well, but there's only so much I can do. Yeah.
What would you, sorry, add on to that. Today we're having lunch with a couple of attorneys who were also serving the cannabis industry, and both of them for a really long time.
And earlier we had been talking to some other attorneys at Weed Week, and somebody was saying something about how they thought, a shift might happen under this new administration is not through direct enforcement, but through this sort of, scary letters being sent to ancillary service providers. And I thought, what would we do if we got a letter from the Department of Justice that was sort of a veiled threat about serving our clients? What would, that time may come, and then you gotta, really put your, but yeah, exactly. More trademark applications.
All right, no answer for a question. Are women's rights human rights?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, we'll go to the next one. Why did you become a trademark lawyer? Or actually, you know what? I know why you became a trademark lawyer. What do you like about being a trademark lawyer now that you are?
I like a lot of things. One thing is that it's sort of morally benign. Like you're not doing any harm. You're not, you're really rarely the bad guy. Yeah, I don't really know anything, but you're never the bad guy. I really like that. There's a big creative element to it. Trademarks are fun. There's obviously a lot of design marks. A lot of times your clients have a big creative drive in what they're doing with their branding. And it's really fascinating. It's an area of law, now that we're in cannabis IP, that's changing still. I mean, we are literally seeing cases come out right now, today, last month, that are affecting the way we give advice, which kind of goes to your point about some uncertainty for this industry. But that's also kind of fun. It's exciting to be able to be a part of a changing area of law rather than just sort of the same old thing day to day. My favorite things. What about you?
I love that we're like fighting over the meaning of language. Like I love that part of trademark law. Before I was going to be a law professor, I was going to be a regular professor, and I was going to do like social theory stuff, and I was really into the theory of language. And so when I found that there was like a whole area of law that was about arguing over the true meaning of a word or who owns a word, like, I was like, this is hilarious. I want to be a part of this. And it is. It's ridiculous and fun, and I love it. And with the cannabis stuff, it just makes it that much more exciting. I have a rapid fire round for you, and I know we're running out of. Whoa! All right, I know we're running. What's our? 30 seconds. Okay, can I just do it for you because it's really funny. Okay.
Well, Apple takes 30 seconds.
Seriously. Okay. Color you're most recently considering adding to your hair.
Blue.
Favorite type of sushi.
Snapper.
Song you definitely know all the lyrics to.
0. There's literally no song.
Best car game to play on a long drive.
Best card game. Hook 'em, it says their car. Oh, car game. Oh, I was gonna go to this whole Persian card game thing. Yeah. The one where you have to get the alphabet in order based only on the signs alongside the freeway. I played it for years. I love it.
How many miles over the speed limit are you driving while you play that car?
At a minimum 25, if not.
What's our Dropbox password? I'm just kidding. I don't know either. That's all right. All right. Thank you guys so much.
Guys, that was fun. We're going to start setting up for our panel discussion. I'm going to have all of our panelists come up, and we're just going to get everybody in a row here, so just bear with us for just a second. Moderator, Claire Kaufmann, if you could come on up. Claire is the Northwest Regional Director for the cannabis business intelligence firm, BDS Analytics. They also have a table in the back. Then we've got Jesce Horton. He is the owner of Panacea Valley Gardens, and is also the co-founder and chairman of the Minority Cannabis Business Association. We've got Erious Johnson, the Director of Civil Rights for the Office of the Attorney General. And then we've got Jenny Diggles. She is with MacArthur Investments, Vice President of Investments. And then we have James Morris. He is the founder of La Caja, which is a firm specializing in the facilitation of the successful entry of people of color into the recreational cannabis industry. Thank you all for being here. We do have one mic, so we're just going to get real cozy and share.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys. So, I'm going to actually scoot my chair forward a little bit because it's weird to talk to you like in a row. Hold on just a second. So I'm really excited about the conversation we're going to have tonight. I know that it's more relevant now than it ever has been. And I don't know how many of you here were in Vegas a couple weeks ago. Okay, a lot, okay, a fair amount. So basically, this conversation today is about change. And this conversation today is about the amount of transition that we're going through, both as a country and as an industry, and where those things cross over, and how we can play a role in that. So we're going to talk about things like, what does the Trump administration mean for the cannabis industry? We're going to talk about how changes in leadership what are those going to mandate from us as business leaders? We're going to talk about how we keep this from becoming an industry of privilege, and what our responsibility is as business owners in this sector. And then we're going to talk about actionable ways, things that we can actually do to change things instead of just give lip service to things. So that's what we're going to be doing here tonight, and I'm really excited to get going. As Amy said, I'm Claire Kaufmann. I work for a company called BDS Analytics. We've got a little table in the back. So we study what customers buy, but I'm an activist at my core. My husband and I run a Jewish drug policy nonprofit called L'Or. We're funded by David Bronner of Dr. Bronner's Hemp Soaps. So we do all kinds of kind of interesting things like cannabis Passover Seders and sort of cross the line between spirituality and social justice. So that's kind of what I bring to the table. But what I really like to do is, in 1 minute, I'd like each of you to sort of introduce yourselves to the panel so we can sort of get an understanding of what brought you here today.
Great. Hello, everyone. It's great to see so many different people here to talk about a number of different great subjects. My name is Jesce Horton, as was mentioned. I've been lucky enough to live in Portland, Oregon for about 4 years now. I don't think I'll ever leave, so it's good to be amongst a lot of Oregonians here in the room. I've been in the industry cultivating. I started off with one light and one clone, and now I'm growing on to a medical facility and dispensary and a bigger recreational facility. And also in the transition of doing all that, I really started to notice the importance of more diversity and the importance of us looking after social causes, understanding where the industry has gone. So I co-founded an organization called the Minority Cannabis Business Association that's focused on, and the people in Oregon have been very, very supportive. It's focused on making sure that people of color and minorities have a chance to benefit from the cannabis industry by way of job ownership or jobs, business ownership, tax appropriation, a number of different things, a lot of low-hanging fruit out there that we can all join in together as a community and make sure that we can help to distribute to the people who need it the most.
How you doing? Erious Johnson, Director of Civil Rights for the Oregon Attorney General. I'm here because I was invited, and I came because I thought there was actually going to be minorities here. So yeah, I got a couple of tips. Hopefully it'll help. There you go. So yeah, another one. Okay, my bad. I think I'm still adjusting to Portland because that's the first time I've ever heard hot and privilege in the same sentence.
I'm Jenny Diggles. I'm with MacArthur Capital, and what we do is we actively invest in the cannabis industry. And at our core, we are all huge activists, and we're in this industry for a reason. So why I'm here is so I can share some of the passion that I have for this industry, and why I think it's so important for us to be inclusive and to really see things beyond what they look like, and build this into really the greatest industry that I think our state could possibly have.
My name is James Morris, and I've lived in Portland for about 20 years. And well, what brings me here is I'm the chair of the Oregon Commission of Black Affairs. So before 91 was passed, we were already having discussions around basically the disenfranchisement of blacks in cannabis space nationwide. But also those that have been touched by cannabis, as far as with cannabis charges, their inability to get jobs, their inability to basically provide and get a slice of the American dream. So 91 passes, and then I look around, and the people who are participating, they don't look like me. And You know, I grew up with individuals that caught charges that were incredibly bright, and incredibly charismatic, and you know, their lives destroyed. And why I'm here is to make sure that people who look like me, that their lives, you know, aren't just restored anymore, but they get to have the same dream that everybody in this room has.
I couldn't think of a better panel we could put together for this conversation. And I came to this as an activist because I actually grew up on Capitol Hill in the early 80s, and we were the only white people on our street. And I didn't realize I was witnessing the war on drugs, but I was absolutely witnessing the war on drugs. And I remember seeing all of it. And I remember realizing, even at a young age, that we're no different, and we owe it to ourselves, even with this opportunity, to take that even more seriously. So, the next major topic I want to tackle is the elephant in the room, because if we don't bring it up, everyone's thinking about it. So, what I really want to talk about is Jeff Sessions and Tom Price. So, for anyone who's unfamiliar, I can't imagine that you would be, but Jeff Sessions is Trump's nominee for Attorney General, and he's been vocally anti-cannabis, and the New York Times has gone as far as to describe him as an insult to justice. Tom Price is Trump's pick for health secretary, and he's come out against marijuana, even medical. So, as we know, our industry is able to operate due to something called the Cole Memo, which in essence allows states' laws to go above what the federal government mandates. So, as we know, we could just have a small shift in policy and have some very different rules and regulations on our hands. Or Trump could just choose to do nothing and create so much ambiguity in the space that the market fizzles anyway. So I want to talk to Jesce and get your opinions on this. Do you think the cannabis industry should be worried right now? And then pass it down if anyone else has other feedback.
Yeah, I definitely think we should always be worried. I mean, I think one thing that we have commonly been thinking about is that, you know, we're here, we've arrived. You know, we had in Las Vegas 10,000 people at the Cannabis Conference, right, the largest ever. It kind of feels like we're there, but, you know, just like you mentioned, there's always one strike of the pen that could make things a lot more difficult, and more difficult than they already are for us to survive. So I think that we should certainly be worried. We should continue with the activism that I've learned and I've seen a lot in Portland, Oregon. I think the people here in this city have taught me more about activism and the power of joining together and you know, for one common purpose and moving something along, you know, and showing the power of people. So we should continue with that and continue to show the rest of the nation, like we have been, what, you know, cannabis legislation should be about and what patients' rights should be about, and those things. So I think it's really important for us to stay vigilant. And I think the biggest intersection with the appointments, of course, with Jeff Sessions, was that he said that he thought members of the KKK were good until he realized they smoked marijuana or cannabis, and then he thought they were bad. So I'm thinking, okay, KKK good, marijuana bad. That's definitely not good for me and a lot of people in the industry who are trying to make things happen. So I'm going to be probably a little bit more vigilant than I have been in the past.
Yeah, sure. My comments do not reflect the office of the Attorney General. But to be serious, safe space, trying to be honest, no. As long as most marijuana growers are starting to look like this room, y'all are not gonna have a problem. I mean, Trump is a businessman, taxes saving towns, money is flooding in. They're gonna be able to shift away from lottery, start relying on cannabis to fund schools, to fund insurance. It's prohibition. They eventually got rid of that, and that was in the Constitution. So I don't really see just one crazy dude calling pot smoke is bad. I don't think it's gonna change the shift. It's all about money, it's about business, and yeah, pot is the pastime of the privileged now. So I think it's gonna only expand.
To answer your question, I'm also not worried. I guess I'm not one to ever fearmonger something, but you know, you do have to be aware of what we're heading into. But I'm not worried because cannabis hasn't become a partisan issue. It is bipartisan in nature. And we now have 60% of the country with legal access in some form. So that's not something you can very easily roll back or peel back without making the illegal market completely just thrive tremendously. So I'm not worried. I'm actually, if anything, I guess this is a great opportunity, like what Jesce said, is for our community to say, hey, we're gonna stand together. And as long as we are extremely professional in our approach, no one's going to touch it. You know, we've got crazy increased regulations right now in this state that are causing all sorts of issues. But on the flip side, what they provide is we can say, great, we're stringent. We are adhering to some crazy rules. There's no reason to interfere with what we're doing with our business. So I'm not worried. I'm actually very looking forward to the future because this is momentum that has so much going on behind it that I don't think any single person in any single part of government could actually slow it down.
Well, I'm concerned. And, but inside of it being concerned, I'm a little bit more pragmatic. Pragmatically speaking, the Senate is, what, 52-48? And, you know, so I tend to think that we'll be able to pick up, 4 votes. You know, that's the way that I look at it. You know, he's still, it was just a nomination, and he hasn't truly been appointed.
I think that what it does for us is it helps us bring back the fact that we are active in business. So we might be fine, like people that run businesses might be fine, but the people that are still incarcerated will not be fine. And so we cannot separate ourselves from them so that we thrive and then sort of divorce ourselves from activism. And so that's and I think all of Americans, people in Oregon on the left coast, we're sort of all rediscovering ourselves as activists. And I think this sort of plays right into that conversation. So the first question I have for you, Jesce, is about activism in business. So first of all, thank you for everything you do, by the way, for all of us and for the industry overall. And I know that you not only founded the Minority Cannabis Business Association, but that you also just formed a relationship with Marley Naturals. And I really want to learn more about that, and I'm hoping you can shed some light on how you're collaborating and what that'll mean for social justice in cannabis.
Yeah, great. I think this is a question I'm very, very passionate about, and I'm glad that we have so many business owners in Oregon here to talk about it. I think something that I think we're all very sensitive to is the big guy coming into the room, right, and taking over. And companies like Privateer and Leafly and Marley Natural, a lot of times to many people represent the big guy who wasn't here fighting for the cause, but now is coming in to take advantage. And what Marley Natural quickly realized was that was a problem. Coming in, no matter how many resources they had, no matter how much power they had behind them, what kind of names, like Bob Marley's namesake company, right? They had a problem with their image inside of the industry and outside of the industry. And I think that's something that we can all look at as something that we need to understand and something that we can learn from. Even we're smaller guys, it's probably more important for companies like us to really stay closer to the activism than it is for them. But what they did is they realized that they had a lot of issues with that view and that perception. But they are good people there, right? So we took some time and talked to some of the people there. We reached out to them, or they reached out to us first, and we had a meeting, and we kind of wanted to determine what does activism look like in the industry? What does it mean to step up as a company who's doing well in this industry and really serve a purpose and really shine a light on what can be done from the activism and from the economic side. So what we did was we came up with a program that I think is just another example of low-hanging fruit that's out there that we can all contribute to very easily and do something good for the economic good of our business, but also for the social good of our business and for our industry. So we developed a program called Rise Up Expungement Day. And our first one was here in Portland, Oregon, where we brought in a number of people, a lot of people here have heard about that, to come in for a 4-hour workshop, and we paid for all of their expungement services, probably about $1,000 per person, and we got 25 people through that program in a matter of 4 hours. We brought in the attorneys, brought in the fingerprint reps, and the power of just that low-hanging fruit that's right there that we can all contribute to in so many easy ways was unbelievable. People were in that room crying, right? They didn't have a chance to get that job. They weren't able to get into this housing. They lost their kid, right? people that, you know, they had, someone came to pick up, you know, a dime bag from them of cannabis at their house, but they happened to live within 1,000 feet of the school, were then hit with the felony charge of selling within 1,000 feet of a school. And how do you feel like going to try to get a job with something like that, where all of a sudden it looks like you're selling drugs to kids? So just within that 4 hours and the resources that are available from the economic power of the industry, we were able to change a lot of people's lives. And I think that us being an industry that comes from the human rights activism, right? We all understand what it's like to stand up for something that's not right, right? To stand up and join together for something that we know is not right. This is something that now we've done, and we've developed an industry, and there are a lot of people who are still suffering those issues. I actually have been arrested 3 different times for cannabis, and was lucky enough to get through the system, become an engineer, but there's a lot of people who weren't able to do that. So we have a real special responsibility. And I think that because we have that place in the industry, the more we do good from a social standpoint and shine that light, the more economic dollars will come. The more economic dollars that come, the more we can do good and still kind of complete the circle. So it's a lucky opportunity that I think we all have, that we can easily take a couple steps. Like Marley Natural did, take a big step. We can take big steps like that, or we can take small steps together and make a hell of a difference out there in our community.
So you guys sat in the order of my question, so you must have known. So the next question is for you, right? So I want to know, obviously social justice remains important in terms of starting a business, but I also want to learn a little bit more about minority-owned businesses in the state overall. And I'm really curious at the state level, what kinds of programs exist for entrepreneurs or business people coming into this space? And what can the state legally do to help the cannabis industry stay balanced in its approach? My question, you need to
Okay, that's a curveball. I'm not aware of anything the state is actually doing to kind of generate it. Oh, well, I guess there are some initiatives they're putting in tax dollars.
What do you wish they would do? What do you think that how do you think the state can show leadership in this particular path?
My comments do not reflect those of the Attorney General's office. I had somebody ask me once, how does it feel to be working, instead of working outside the system working inside the system out? And I want to tell people, no, I'm not concerned with the state's response. I'm not concerned with how the system works, because it works exactly the way it's supposed to work. My interest is this, coming here and spreading knowledge. I'm trying to change the thought process of those outside the system. So the system's not going to do anything it's not made to do. So kind of understand your civics. There's this pot tax. I didn't know about it until Mr. Horton came to a BMA meeting and shared it. They're talking about using this money for expungements. They're talking about using this money for business development, for public safety. So is everybody paying attention to when RFPs come out, requests for proposals? Does anybody know the councilmen and the congresspeople who are in charge of it? There's legislative days that you can join the Urban League, CIO, SEIU, where they actually go down to the Capitol and you can meet legislators and start talking to them and start getting away from sending angry emails and going out and letting people see your face. So, I was talking before, when you rally the troops and you can actually go to an individual, that's affecting the change. That's what I'm trying to share to individuals. The system works exactly the way it's supposed to work. It takes pushback from outside. So yeah, I don't want the state to do anything. I want us as a people to be more understanding of how our civics work. Where's the money? How are we going to get it? What are you going to do when we get it? Sharing with individuals to get out of Portland. Portland is saturated. I try to tell my brothers, like, yo, Tiger, LeGrand, Medford, Southeast Oregon. So civil rights means rights of a citizen. And a citizen, when you're a citizen, it means not only that you have rights, the state is bound to protect those rights. So now you have the right to a cannabis business. So be aware of what's going on with the money. Be aware of the initiative. Learn how to write ballot measures. Learn that process. Learn how to write a proper RFP. Learn those measures. So take control of your business and make the state respond to your concerns.
That was awesome. That's exactly what Okay, so it was, right? Okay. So my next question is for Jenny. So Jenny, obviously you're with MacArthur Capital and you invest in all kinds of companies, from grow companies, right, all the way down to processors. Is that correct? The whole gamut. Okay. So what I want to learn from you is, does MacArthur Capital embrace social justice as part of its mission? And if so, how? And I don't just mean, do you invest in businesses owned by minorities, or do you embrace social justice as part of your brand's umbrella mission?
So we invest in a wide variety of companies, some that are established, others that are brand new. And we are a very diverse team. So our team naturally, we are diverse. What I love about our team and why we came together in a large way is because we all care so much about this industry. We all talk about it all the time. We can't stop talking about it. And our founding partners have come from places like Florida, where one of them is in this room, Matt Anderson. He was fighting for Florida's Amendment 2, which failed last time. He was there actually working on the ground, trying to get that through. One of our other founding partners has watched one of his parents die from something that he feels cannabis could have cured. And he's watching his other parent struggle with the same thing. And so we all come to this from a perspective of, we absolutely believe in what this industry is doing and where it's going. And we are not looking at it solely from the lens of money. Oh, we just want to make money, we're here to make money. If that was the case, I would be bored out of my mind. I wouldn't be doing this within a couple of months, because that can only drive you so long. So as a company, what we really do is we continuously attract people who are comfortable being vocal in our community and outside of this community, across the country or wherever they go. We're also really looking at businesses that are having sustainable practices, that pay people well, that care and give back to the community. And that's not even just here, that's outside of the country. You know, our investments that are in other countries, we care. We want to make sure men and women are paid the same. We want to make sure they're employed at the same rate. So it's something that permeates almost everything that we do, to a point where it's almost hard to say what is the one thing that we're doing, because it becomes a topic of conversation for our group every single day. It's kind of inevitable, I feel like. Right now, the stage this industry is in, if you don't love this, you're in the wrong place. If you talk to somebody who says, I'm only looking for money, or you talk to an investor that says, oh, cannabis is not really for me, I don't touch that stuff. That's okay, there's occasionally times where people don't touch that stuff, but they don't really care about you, they don't really care about this industry, they care about their bottom line. So what I love about what we do is we actually do care about the people and the bottom line as well, but it has to come from a feeling of heart and a feeling of actually wanting to push this boundary further. We are on the bleeding edge right now. All of us in this room, we're on the bleeding edge. We are the ones that are charting the path forward, nobody else. Nobody else is telling Mary Lou back there what next step to take. She's figuring it out for herself. And so we all have to do that. We bind together as a group and we find our ways that we push this edge out even further. So I guess I could say our social activism and what we care about, it's kind of the backbone and the DNA of everything that we are doing right now.
So this next question is for James. I told you sat in like the perfect order, okay? So I know that you work with a lot of different businesses, and what I want from you today is, I'm wondering if you can give some advice to some people that might be in the audience that are looking to start a business. What resources could they be investigating? How can they be successful? In particular, if they are starting a minority-owned business, or even just, there's all different kinds of people here. So I would be interested in your business advice.
Well, that's a big question.
I know.
That's a loaded question. So I'm gonna, I'll have to invoice you. Putting on my supplier diversity. Many years ago, I worked for a Fortune 100 company, and I actually created a supplier diversity model for the West Coast. And putting that hat on and looking at it circumspectly is that, looking, if you're going to enter the cannabis space, whenever I have conversations with someone who's looking at entering the cannabis space, and let's take for instance if they're a general contractor, and they're like, hey, I want to, I love weed. I want to grow some weed, right? It's not that hard. I'm like, well, number one, it's incredibly hard. Let's pump your brakes a little bit, bro. And then, number two, tell me more about what it is that you do now. I want to hear what do you do now? And if they're a general contractor, in this one instance, is the guy loved it. That's what he did, but he saw the money from cannabis, and he was like, that's where he wanted to be. So the conversation was along the lines of, and I'm going to speak directly to everybody, is, stay in your lane, man. If you're doing this and you're doing it really well, can you move that over to the cannabis space? And can you operate in the cannabis space? Now, what this resulted in is this individual of whom had a felony on his record and actually served 6 years. His general contracting firm was doing $250,000, and that was at the beginning of this year. All of last year, he did $250,000. As of 2 months ago, he had done $1.3 million inside of the cannabis space, as far as doing build-outs, as far as coming in and doing just ground-up builds, the whole nine. And so, does that put him in a better space? Yeah. Is he a part of is he profiting from the cannabis space? Yes. Now, a second part of that question is this. Those who are entering the space from a supplier diversity model, there are many resources out there. For instance, there's the Oregon Association of Minority Entrepreneurs, OAMI. Sam Brooks does an amazing job. And, the things that he does there as far as whether it be technical assistance, whether it be, you're looking, to build up your own soft skills as well, all of that's available and it's right around the corner. Now, does that have anything directly with cannabis? No. But when you look at the cannabis, when you look inside of the cannabis industry and you look at those that have failed, they have not failed because of their love of cannabis. They have failed because of their lack of business acumen. And so what you want to do is add to that business acumen, and what you want to do is help develop that. And if there's other resources available, and I can go on and on. If you're a person of color, I would reach out to the MCPA, for some direction. You can reach out to, as far as to NAMCO, National Association of Minority Contractors. You can reach out to technical assistance through the Hispanic Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce. So all of these programs that are already existing that give technical assistance alongside as far as a business structure. Now, are they specific to cannabis? No, but they are a jumping off point. I think everybody needs a point of reference where you can reference something saying, okay, this is where I'm at. This is where I need to be. What are the steps that I need to take in order to get there?
So those are the questions I have to get the panel going. We have such a great group up here. I am imagining that there's some good questions in the audience. That's kind of what I'm banking on, actually. So we have a hand up in the back. Should you want to just project, or should I just?
Oh yeah.
Mary Lou.
I have a cold, but I want to tell you, we reached out yesterday to the SBA and asked them if they would be part of helping our people with their pitches and their small businesses and help. They were amazing. So kudos and amazing, because their hands are tied, okay, because of the feds and the situation. But it doesn't mean that everybody in this room cannot pull together. I have a consultant who offered to help people with their pitches. We had attorneys here today that were amazing, that we could pull together. Now, I have too much on my plate and I'm self-funded, so we could start the Small Business Cannabis Association, okay? And it's of the SBA, right? Small Business Association helped me in my wedding and vet business for years. But why can't we do that? Where we pull together. I've never in my life, the commitment you say, Jenny, it saved my son's life. My mother passed away 2 years ago, and it was so awful. Peggy Anderson was in bed with fibromyalgia, and now she's running marathons. The stories I've collected is unbelievable for a
plant that's grown in the ground, okay? That we prescribe our kids Ritalin, Concerta, and they go, oh my God, Mom, I don't think I want to go on, okay? And I have a doctor who helped my son, who studied 300 kids and discovered that the one issue was why they took a gun or hurt themselves was because they weren't being monitored. And no mother should be told you can't get help unless your child hurts themselves or hurts someone else.
That's right.
So, what I'm saying is, as a community, I've never seen an industry that helps each other more than this industry, really. I'm blown away by the people that don't have anything, they're not making any money, but they open their doors to give veterans medicine. That's really what's in this room here. I get a little emotional, but we have the power. And again, going back to the Oregon Cannabis Growers Fair, if anybody told me that the state fair would allow plants on display and that doctors were sending people to the fair saying, I can't tell you to do this, okay? But you could go find out about it from the community.
Thank you so much.
It's powerful.
That's right.
SBCA, Small Business Cannabis Association.
I think there's a future there. I think
I
so.
can't do it. I learned how to say no. It's my new
Do we have any questions in the audience specifically for some of our panelists? Yeah, up front.
My question to you is, I think a lot of white people who care about the injustice that has happened don't know what to do.
Yes.
So like, what can I do as a white business owner to help?
To do more than just
shit out. Like, what can I do to do more in this realm? Yeah. That's chapter you want to
Thank you. By the way, that was the perfect question.
Well, thanks for being very transparent and honest. Really appreciate that. But I think a lot of it comes down to, and I'll put it like this, is that imagine living a life of where all the doors have keys and you don't have a key. And you watch everybody walk through doors and they're using the key to get to the doors. They're like, hey man, I don't see color. Or, I really like you though, you're a good guy. And then they go through the door and then the door slams in that person's face, right? So what you could do is help open that door. Well, what you can do is making sure that if there's other people of color that want to get into the industry, of which there are, that you're helping them along the way, that you're expanding, that you're sharing your network with them, and that you're sharing because that's power. Your network's power, you're sharing it with them, but at the same time, you're advocating for them as well. For instance, there's, when you begin to look at access to capital is still a huge issue with people of color because, we have so many built-in biases, that comes along with it, right? Exactly. So, can you help somebody get some funds? That would be immensely available, and sometimes it's just as easy as you knowing somebody who's an investor or whatnot, and you making that introduction so that person of color, they don't have to basically introduce themselves and validate themselves. If you can be some validation for them as well.
Your businesses, so like any other business, where do you get your interns from? Where are you recruiting from? I mean, when we need a quarterback, nobody has a problem getting on a plane. But we want to just give a brother a job from Gresham. Everyone wants to know, well, how can I do something? Well, get on a bus and go out to Gresham, go to a high school and find an intern. I'm like, how did y'all learn how to grow? I'm from New York. The only weed I ever saw was in a bag, out the back of somebody's car. Black people don't have access to farmland. Get a bunch of kids and drive them out to your grow. Let them see what it looks like. Give them it's something simple. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's the 4-H club. Have a trip. Show people how to do it. Introduce, when you go to a school and you have a shop class, teach them how you can take hard skills in. You don't have to handle the weed, but you can build a grow. Learning lighting, learning horticulture. There's other ways. So giving your time, actually finding, I mean, do anybody have staff of more than 3 people? Or is everybody, I mean, what does your staff look like? Who do you hire? Somebody just said, oh, we hooked up a couple of growers earlier. What did they look like? You know, when you go to make your business and you make your power moves, are you really concerned about who you do business with? Or are you just looking at the money? Or are you saying, you know, today I'm gonna partner with somebody that doesn't look like me? You know, you have to make an effort. So yeah, there's a lot that can be done just like anybody else. Just pay attention to who you interact with and do your business with and be more intentional about that.
I think this is, you know, a great question. I'm really touched by the fact that there are a lot of people, a lot of different people here to talk about this one specific subject. This is what was on the agenda, right? It wasn't just something we decided to throw on. So that shows me more, right, that, you know, this matters. And in the kind of world where we're dealing with the Trump and all these different racial issues, it's even more important for us to just kind of talk about these things and figure out ways that we can band together. And that's why with MCBA, a lot of people have asked, you know, hey, I'm a white business, but I want to be involved. I've heard that so many times, right? Privateer and Marley Natural isn't owned necessarily only by Marley's family. A lot of white people, you know, reached out to us and wanted to help with this. And I think that is something that is true, right? It's something that within MCBA, we have board members who are white. We all are in this together, period. So I think that just like, you know, you mentioned getting out there to the community, like simple things like education and exposure do more than I think a lot of people understand. Just putting on a clinic in a specific part of the city. Portland definitely has a lot of racial tensions because of redlining and gentrification. So that's even more important that we kind of just do just an extra step to kind of give people exposure and kind of open up your doors. And I'm not one who's necessarily a favor of quotas, right? Or saying that we have to give this many percentages. That's not my particular way of handling it. I think there's a number of other things that we can do that are in the best interest of your business, as well as giving you that ability to really do some social good. I mean, looking at your vendors, right? I know there are some black farmers, some black-owned cultivation facilities that would love places to sell flower. So any dispensary owners, right? There's, you know, you can reach out to those people. My brother actually has started a Northwest Cannabis CPA service that he does with one of his best friends, right? So anybody who's looking for a good CPA can definitely reach out to him and, you know, kind of talk about those services. So I don't think it's something where we have to take a big step or do something that is not in the best interest of our business. I think there's so much in that category that is in the best interest of our business, but also does a lot of good, that again, those low-hanging fruits that we can just grab, and I mean, it's just really easy for us to make a difference.
I'll just chime in and say, if, with regard to intentionality, just put it on your calendar. If you want to remember to keep something as important, you know, not just today, but going forward, once a quarter, put on your calendar, like, okay, am I staying true to what I intended? Am I actually making this a priority in my business? If you create the time to check in with it, then it'll happen, it'll manifest. David, do you have a question?
Yes, thank you. First of all, thank you all so much for coming out. This is, probably couldn't get more important. I'm so happy to be here. Probably the least likely person to ask a radical question, at least from my outer appearance, but the initial, when opening up this, I don't know if this was a slip or whatnot, but there was the statement about keeping the cannabis industry from becoming an industry of privilege. That really struck me because, well, I just got back from Las Vegas.
It was really white.
It couldn't have been, well, not only it couldn't have been whiter,
right?
Frankly, it couldn't have been more male, and it couldn't have been richer.
That's how it felt to me too.
All right, so I mean, I couldn't swing a cat without hitting 5 investment bankers. So
I felt the same way.
As someone who's interested in social issues and politics and whatnot, race issues. Half the country is really good at talking about issues of race. The other half help them, but you know. Half of us can talk about race, but one of the things that nobody in the country as a culture we're good at talking about is class. And race and class are intimately related as most people who've experienced either side of that knows. I just want to throw a huge old curveball into all this and ask anyone who cares to pick it up, where do you see, people who are not from a privileged background, regardless of race, but obviously just falling particularly on minority communities who've been historically structurally disadvantaged? How do you feel that interacts, and how does that inform your strategy and your attempts at ameliorating this? Because it's one thing, bless, Privateer for the expungement workshop and all that, but, there's more to this than really wealthy white people, basically purchasing a fig leaf for a social justice offset, like a carbon offset, to excuse other behavior. Getting a little more radical to those of you who have that sort of sensibility, where do you see that we can go even deeper than just this surface level conversation?
It's honestly things like this, where you asked a question that was really honest. You said, I'm white. How do I show that I want to make a difference and balance this shit out? And David, you're a white dude in a suit, and you just asked a really great question. So to me, this is where it comes down to, is having these honest conversations with each other, and it ties back into what you said, Claire, which is remind yourself of what you're doing. Be intentional about your words. Be intentional about your actions. And it's a personal responsibility we all have to take. It's not necessarily, like you said, the carbon offset. You can just buy something and your corporation feels better because even though you burned down half the Amazon, now you paid some sort of fee and you feel okay. That doesn't solve anything. But the personal interactions that we have really do. And we all deal with our external skin that people see, and we all have judgments about whatever we see, good or bad, we just do. I'm white, but I didn't grow up in privilege. I grew up with parents that were missionaries. I grew up in a town where I was a minority. I grew up mostly, all of my friends were black. So you might look at me and be like, oh, it's just a rich white girl from Portland. That's absolutely not the case. But you would never know that unless you can have the conversation. So we all have to allow ourselves to dissolve our own beliefs about each other, to have the honest conversation that build the bond that this community then can really have, where we then say, you understand better how to help each other out. And you really do start to see each other from a better perspective. So I guess that's where I'd start. I don't know the full answer, because I don't think we really do. I think we're in an interesting time where we are starting to dissolve these standards and ideals that we have around each other. But this is where it starts, is conversations like this.
If you follow statistics and then if you run it back from our diversity, you're just looking at diversity in business. And a lot of times whenever we begin to talk about ethnicity, it comes up, class comes up. And I don't want to discount your question. But if you look at businesses that have a focused effort, not on class, but a focused effort, once they begin to focus their efforts on diversity, which is ethnicity-based and orientation-based, they basically receive right around about a 12 to an 18% bump up in profit. Yeah, so nothing's really been done about class as far as answering that on class, but when you look at that, that's going to basically bounce back down to class, because a lot of African Americans are they're not middle class, man. And the things that you do to reach out to people of color are going to just realistically reach out to others that are in a lower socioeconomic class. That's just the nature of the business.
Yeah, I think one thing really quickly that we can do, I think a lot of us don't really know what the problem is. I mean, what we see is not a lot of people of color, right? But I believe that there are more people of color than we see, right, who are not necessarily coming out of the shadows, who aren't coming to the conferences saying I'm this big grower, but they're out there, right? And one thing that we can do to get more to the root of the problem and understand how we can really make a difference is what NCBA is doing with UC Berkeley, University of California, Berkeley. We're executing the first study, nationwide study that says, how many people of color are actually out there. We have no idea. We've all read articles that say 1%, kind of put a thumb in the wind and say maybe 3%, because I saw 30 guys at this conference, so I'm thinking that, I know there's one guy who has a dispensary, so, maybe I think that's, there's only 10 dispensaries, and I know one guy, so maybe 10. So nobody really knows. So we're trying to get down into that to understand, are there a lack of people who are applying for licenses, or are there a lack of people who are getting licenses? What are the gaps there? Are there a lack of people who are hiring? And then that gives us the ability to work with people like you and work with companies like you to kind of target in on those issues, develop programs to assist with those things. Otherwise, we're just kind of just throwing spaghetti at a wall and hoping that it makes a difference. So we're talking about things that make us feel good because we know it's a problem, but we're not really getting to the root of the problem and figuring out how to make it better and making a real measurable impact. And figuring out, after this year, how many what was the increase? What was the decrease? And how can we change that? So that's one thing that we want to do and work with companies and people like you to kind of bring that information to light and figure out targeted ways to make a difference.
Hold on. So I know we're probably tight on time. Is that true?
Yes.
Because it seems to be really compelling, a lot of questions, so I don't want to cut it short. In the back over there, you've had your hand up forever. You were like the first one, so.
So several agencies that typically assist individuals to form their company and be on track and all of that you mentioned, but of course they get a lot of federal funding. So can they really not talk to somebody who wants to start a dispensary, a grow, a distribution, that sort of thing? Or can they, but you're talking about business. It's not like they're involved, like SBA isn't funding, but they're mentoring type of thing.
You're talking about the tactics of,
yeah.
Okay, I think James should probably.
Well, as far as, if you're, from my understanding, from direct conversations with them, if you're talking about business principles, yes, they can help you. But once you begin to talk to them like, oh, well, can you help me structure this inside of my business, and they're doing hands-on inside of that, then they're going to be hands-off. But if you're talking, for instance, you're going to have a conversation about, the difference between an LLC and a C Corp and the benefits, well, they're going to help you out with that. If you're going to have a conversation about, structuring a pitch deck, or putting together a P&E, a P&E statement. If you're going to have conversations around that are business structures, yes, they will help you.
Is that your question too?
Yeah. Just my support.
Okay, moral support. That's always
Two hands better than one.
That's right. And you had a question right here. Is it still relevant, or to be answered? Okay, go ahead.
I was wondering if there's any regular biases or mistakes that anybody sees the allies making, people coming in with maybe thinking they're helping but they're not. And then second, kind of maybe if nobody has any comment on that, are there any, aside from not hiring minorities, are there any lesser known poor business practices that we should know about?
It's a really good question. Who'd like to tackle that one?
As far as the lesser known poor business practices, I didn't quite catch the first one, the first question that you had. But I think one thing that is really a sore spot in communities of color has been us kind of following, not on purpose, but on accident, the example of liquor stores. And the fact that a lot of times, purposefully on their end, they have located in areas that are typically more communities of color, typically areas that are lower socioeconomic background, which kind of comes into play the same way. And that has been something that people of color have seen as a really negative thing, right? And they don't want these dispensaries or these areas, they don't see them as a benefit like a lot of us understand that they can be. They can be a health asset, a lot of different things that we understand, they don't see that. So a lot of us, by force, we've been forced to kind of place in areas that would accept us, that would allow us to actually have a cannabis business, and a lot of times those are those same types of neighborhoods. And we're just happy to get a location, we're happy to open up doors, but we're not thinking about that impact on the community or the perception of that impact. And something that I think dispensaries who do find themselves in that situation should be looking for programs, local organizations, to give just a little bit of money, right? Show that you're a part of the community, show that you're helping. And I think that's one of those things where you were already looking to give money to organizations, you already want to do something, finding that kind of middle zone, like I was saying, that I want to do that, I know it's good for my business, but it's also going to help me from an economic standpoint, because there are a lot of people of color who don't want to frequent dispensaries. They don't want to go to your store. They don't want to go there. There's nobody who looks like me. You know, I know the person who owns it is probably some rich guy who doesn't care about this neighborhood. There's nobody who I can talk to who understands kind of how I like to consume, how I like to do things. So they'd rather go to that illegal market. They'd rather go to the guy who they've been purchasing from for 10 years. So doing things like that, when you're placed in those communities, solves or helps with that issue of that perception, and making sure the community knows that you're a benefit, and opening up the communities of color to realize, and that's something that the MCBA is doing. A lot of our communities don't understand the health benefits of cannabis. They don't understand that the minority health disparity gap, 5 of the top issues that affect minorities more than the majority, can all be helped or reversed by cannabis. Our elderly aren't even thinking about that. They don't care. They're not even considering it. So just that step and just that exposure can really open up a brand new opportunity for your business, but also can do a lot of good and help for the industry as a whole.
And also, as far as, don't be afraid to make a mistake. Don't be afraid to start a conversation. I think it all comes down to communication. And just to piggyback on top of what Jesce has said, as far as dispensaries in various neighborhoods, outreach is amazing. You know, just stepping outside of that dispensary and going around to the local businesses that are in the area, introducing yourselves, and being open, and being open for conversation, and such as where you were stating as far as what could somebody do, you know, to reach out. Well, it starts with a hello. You know, it starts with, you know, what's up? You know, having a conversation, and then starting friendships from there. I think it just basically boils down to being a part of the community and making sure that individuals want to be a part of your community as well.
It's the giving season. I've been to a whole bunch of dinners, and does anybody donate, you know, to get your name up on the screen? So come to Summit House or Upon or Urban League, donate, and your name is up there with Wells Fargo, US Bank. So you showing that, look, we're here, contributing, so people get to see your brand, know who you are, and you're out and about. So just going to functions, letting people know that you're investing in the community. And by the same token, that helps internally. You want to know, how do we help? You handing money, well, I just gave you however much, let me come in and do a clinic. You know, let me come in and give a quick overview of what my business looks like. You know, this is how you go through the licensing process. You know, it's very easy to do. There's all of these nonprofits. Oregon has so many nonprofits that you can just reach out to and give a couple of $1,000s, and you're golden. You know, that's what you're a rock star. So, and that's also the way to find employees.
Are we good? Can I take one more question, or are we done? What's your feeling, Amy? One more. Okay, in the back. Ashley, woo.
Hi. First of all, I want to thank all of you for the information that you're giving, because it's really helpful for the community. I've been helping organize a nonprofit structure for both labor and environmental best practices in the industry for the nation. And I would like to ask for y'all's input to help us structure a standard that protects labor practices. And one of my platforms that we're projecting involves education. And we need help on providing the best education, not only for minorities, and maybe specifically to minorities, but on advancing the industry and all these gaps that are missing. So it's not really a question, but an ask for help. It's called Ethical Cannabis, and we're speaking to people nationwide, and it's moving, the momentum is happening quickly. So if and when I get your email addresses from Amy, I'll be emailing you and asking for your advice and input.
Thank you so much. I think that wraps it up for us here tonight.
I would outreach. How would I get volunteers for CCC? volunteers that they could come to the conference.
Yeah, reach
You
out to.
invite.
Yeah.
You will work together?
Yeah, we'll start.
Okay.
Yeah.
Something will make happen.
See, look at that. Nice to see. Okay. Thank you guys so much for coming, and I want to thank our panelists.